Bones have no names. They might have DNA, but even that corrupts over time until you do return to the earth. To a very real degree, these people took with them solutions to problems, observations, and experiences that we'll never see again. Somebody once lived here. Somebody once lived, and now they're forgotten. People don't live on 66 the way they used to. It's either for local travel, but even then, the larger interstates provide the straight, fast travel that 66 really can't, just due to its nature as a slower, older road. Many of these places have gone the way of the carburetor just because nobody really comes by here anymore. The place behind me, as you see, is obviously closed right now. But furthermore, there's just not the infrastructure to support this anymore.
This project exists not only as an ode to the forgotten America of Route 66, but also as a monument to those buried alongside it. My cameraman and I traveled from Oklahoma City to Tulsa on the historic highway, stopping at cemeteries along the way to document this moment before it too fades away.
See, the issue with old cemeteries like this is that after everyone passes, who's here to take care of them? As the older stuff starts to deteriorate, it fades into the past when nobody's here to remember that this tombstone has fallen and that there was one here in the first place. I mean, this is 100 years older than I am. 1898. That's both incredibly far away and very close to me at the same time. I suppose that's how time works, but it resonates. I'm not saying that there's not people here, but just as the snow falls around me, there's an inevitability to this exact moment in time, at least, being forgotten in favor of progress, or what have you. And really this, making this film, this project is about remembering this exact moment in time where there is much of the past is being forgotten here, obviously. There's a lot of this that I will never know, every story in this graveyard. Even if I could talk to ghosts, I could never compile all the lifetimes that have been lived within this place. But capturing this moment in time and both the relics of the past as they lay and the current present before it then becomes a relic of the past is really what's important. I want to photograph this entire place. It's incredible, really. Not to snoop, but just to see and understand. There's a map of all the plots. There's a chair from likely the 50s. The carpet is very 70s. Obviously, this has been ripped open by people who are not the owners. What I wouldn't give to see this place fixed up and in its prime. It's no longer profitable. As the economy changes and jobs move and things change, you have to accept that. But at the same time, how do you look back and not want to preserve the memory of things like these? There's just something rugged and forgotten about this. You don't get this anymore, and maybe that's a good thing, Maybe the time of the lifted F-150 is just better for everyone involved. But I can't help but look at the simple lines and the rugged feel of something that is built to be durable and not just built to do a job until the next model comes out. Like, the bodies are already underground, right? But the tombstones are an attempt sticking up to try and still maintain the memory of what has, been lost and is rotten and wasted away.
Each tombstone in a cemetery has a life attached to it, as well as a name. There once was a person it belonged to, with a rich inner life. Now the only thing left is that name, attached to an engraved piece of stone, and sometimes not even that. As these cemeteries crumble and decay, tombstones topple, often replaced with placeholder monuments ranging from metal tags with inscriptions scratched onto them to simple concrete blocks, names painted on the rough surfaces.
This film is not exactly a billboard or some great record of every name in every graveyard. It'd be impossible. Some of these have not had names for decades. How do you tread on this ground? You know, this is to some extent a sacred place, a place of memorial. And yet I look down at this paver right here, and there is no name, but there is the marker that somebody once lived here. Somebody once lived, and now they are forgotten.
Our journey ended at the center of the universe, another liminal space, a sonic anomaly perched above the industrial progress of the US rail system and standing in the ashes of Tulsa's painful history.
This used to be Black Wall Street right here, around here. The whole Tulsa massacre happened, they burnt it to the ground, and instead lay some train line, buildings eventually come up. In that space, this anomaly happens where if you stand on a specific spot on this bridge over the railroad track, you will hear an echo. And moving outside of this sort of meter gap, suddenly you can't hear anything. It really depends on various where people are. Because actually, as I'm right here, echo, yeah, then now I can hear it. So it's echo, 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 echo. And I'm hearing just a bit of echo. It's not as much for me. You have to have the touch to some extent.
As my cameraman and I captured the end of our trip, the project's meaning came into deeper focus.
Every time I come here, it sounds different to some extent. There's always an echo. There's always the feeling of being in an auditorium or an echoey room. But at the same time, it's different every time. I can hear myself echo! I suppose capturing a single moment in history, like I'm doing right now with this very echo, is symbolic of that in many ways. Every civilization tries to record its history and its past in a way that can be transferred to its descendants. And this place, just like any other, has done that. And there is a fun physical phenomena here that, as the physics of the area projects my voice farther and farther than it normally would have been, there is a spire that projects its own message into the future. And just like this film is projecting its own message into the future, and I think that is to not forget the past and to remember those that came before us with their problems, with their solutions, with their histories and their tragedies and their triumphs.
Remember the moment, if not its story. This is a monument to the present and the past. This is a headstone for those of the future. May its inscription never fade.